Welcome to the Ripple Effect by the Alliance. We are committed to raising the frequency of our planet. We'll discuss hot topics, share practical tools and sacred frequencies to reveal the magic in your life. Come laugh, cry, and have fun with us.
Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome back to the Ripple Effect podcast with Hannah, Stacia, and myself, Sarah. We're so excited to have you here. We hope you enjoyed our 3-part series that we did, going more of a deep dive into the three of us. And by now, maybe you've heard another episode, and we're diving into yet another juicy topic, a very, I think this is going to resonate with so many people. I laugh because it resonates with me. So I know I've been there. It happens for all of us. So today we're just talking about why we stay stuck. So the excuses, the reasons, all the things for why we might stay stuck in different circumstances that come up. Could be, you're living, if I don't know about you guys, sometimes I look back, I'm like, I feel like I was like on like Groundhog Day or something, or like, okay, this lesson's back to teach me something. Or just like, something happens and it's like, why am I still fucking in the same position, and why is this happening? So anyway, I know that we're going to jump right into this because I know Hannah has a lot to say about it, and I know Stacia has, like, this is really relevant right now for you. So I don't know who wants to like jump in first.
Well,
I'm like, we're both like, well, I'm like,
She's putting me on the hot seat.
I
I'm
think
like,
I know.
Go ahead. Just go ahead. Let's do this.
Going right into it.
Stacia's like, bring it on. I've had a month that it's been just so amazing. So bring it on right now if it's going to get me unstuck, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because it's not a fun, nobody wants to feel that way.
Oh my gosh, it is so uncomfortable. But have you felt, and I know you guys have, but I'm asking the audience, have you ever felt like you're, like Sarah said, Groundhog Day, in the hamster wheel and completely out of control, right? About everything that is happening around you. And you may have an agenda and you may have your desires or a plan of what you want to do. And I always say, I plan and God laughs. You may have all these desires, all these things you want to do, all these things you want to accomplish, and all of a sudden a curveball is thrown at you, and then another curveball, and then you think you've handled that and something else shows up, and it becomes it's like we're going into where there's called where you try to find a maze, right? And you think you have it all straight out, like very clear cut of what you want to do, where you want to go. But unfortunately, we live in a world where there are others. And we also live a life that, so if we go from the basis that we're creating a reality, that is really unnerving. And for me, it makes me so angry when things aren't going well. And when somebody says, well, you're creating it, it makes me want to just like stick their face in somewhere, like, thing of mud, or just like, get away from me. Stop telling me that I'm creating this.
Mm-hmm.
However, unfortunately, we are. And it sucks because we don't know how we're creating it a lot of the times, right? until something happens and we're like, oh, I see. There's what I call our blind spot, right?
Yeah.
And I call it the monkey on the back, where somebody else is looking at you and is like, oh, there's your monkey. But we're looking around like, I don't have a monkey because the monkey's moving with us.
Mhm.
And we never get to see that spot, right? But we also have imprints. And when we show up or sign up for the Hotel California, that I call it, which is this work, we begin to wake up to the imprint and realize the repetitive pattern, the repetitive nature of our lives. And that gets even more irritating, I have to say, because when we're doing the work, we feel like, but I handled that
Mhm.
before. Why is this showing up again, right? And a lot of the times, if not most of the times, whenever something like that keeps showing up, it's because there's something deeper that we have to go into and clear.
Mm.
And if it's showing up, again, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how we want to look at it, right? When we're in the thick of it, it could be unfortunately. And when we're out of it on the other side, we can turn back and say, fortunately, it happened because now I'm at a new level. But in order to get to that new level, it's really sticky. The other thing that happens when we do the work is eventually, like at the beginning, I feel that there's a lot of clearing, cleaning up, all this stuff. A lot of people go through like reviewing everything and feeling the pain again. We talked about this, how I'm just so completely not for that. I mean, once in a while, it's okay to go and feel the pain again if you're releasing, but to continuously put yourself in that state of anguish, I feel that it calls forth the same thing to keep happening. So for me, it's all about focusing on what you desire. But when these things keep coming up, it's like you can't help but look at them because they keep coming back. And you can be like, I've cleared this. And I cleared it again. And I cleared it again and again and again. And I thought it was over, and it keeps coming back. And it takes you down. It takes you down, right? Because it gets even more upsetting that it's showing up again after you've done all the work.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have time, we have spaces as we do the work where we have peace, or we have or we get in the groove, we get in the flow of life, and things are just flowing, coming, awesome, right? And I'm going to give you an example of our experience. And right now, Stacia is one of those examples, right? During the summer, we did a lot of work. And it was very interesting because Stacia was kind of cruising in a way.
Okay.
She was like, I'm fine. Meanwhile, Sarah and I were like getting put through the ringer. And I am going to talk in later about one thing that happens when in a group, somebody's going through a bad time and somebody's not going through a bad time. Okay, that comes after. So eventually, right, we got okay, and I feel like we got to a point where the three of us were stable. It's like we're floating, right? And it's like the waves have stopped coming for a little bit. It's like the storm is gone and everybody's like bobbing around. It's like, woo, okay, it's fun now. Everybody's having fun. We're doing great. And then all of a sudden, wham, Stacia gets hit. Right? And we're looking at her, it's like, oh, it'll pass, it's nothing. And then she gets hit again. And we're like, oh, yeah, no, she'll be fine. She'll be fine. It's nothing. It is nothing. And then wham, she gets smacked all over again. And we're like, okay, we gotta look at this because this is just not normal.
Yeah.
Right. And I'd like Stacia for you to share. You don't have to give like specific details or anything, but just you can I think share your experience, how it was for you going through the, oh, this is so cool, to getting smacked all over.
Yeah, I mean, everything just was flowing and everything was fine. And even when I started having the wobble, things coming up, I was like, no, everything is always working out for me. And then that didn't. I'm like, no, it's okay because everything's working out for me. And then it didn't. And I'm like, it's okay because everything is working out for me. And then it got even worse. And it got to the point that I couldn't drive my car. But I really feel like everything started happening because I have something that I need to heal, which has come up in different ways before. And this is just another level of it, as far as being able to depend on others. I really struggle with. And this was just, here's your lesson. And oh, you're getting by. Let's make this an actual lesson. Like I really feel like it started becoming worse because there's things that started coming up that I really needed to address. And I've stayed very positive, but it's been so stressful and frustrating, and having those feelings is not, doesn't feel good, doesn't feel good.
No, because it's like, also, here's the thing. We get into this mode of, we're gonna be positive, little positive angels, la la la. It doesn't matter that the waves are, I'm drowning, I'm so positive, and you're swallowing the water, and eating the sand and stuff. And it's like, but I'm so positive because everything is happening for me. And it's like, bullshit. It's like, we're getting that idea of I have to remain positive, create such resistance. Because when we start feeling the feelings of irritation, aggravation, anger, frustration, and we start expressing them, there's something in society that says you are not allowed.
Yeah.
Especially for women, for some reason. I don't know why. Because if a man is angry, oh, he's stressed. If a woman expresses that, oh, she's hysterical.
Crazy, right? She's
crazy.
A
crazy bitch.
It's true. And even I find even more so with like like for me, I'll speak for myself, because I initially helped women, like I help women with their mindset and things like that. As I stepped into business coaching, I still help women with that, but just at a different level. I will hear that from people, like they'll be like, if I have a moment where I react or overreact, or it's like, whatever's going on, and I'm like stressed and having a reaction to it, I'll hear that. I'll be like, they're like, oh, aren't you supposed to be so calm? Like, don't you teach this? Don't you teach this to people? I'm like, you might as well. That is the closest thing, like calm down to someone. It's like, you just tell someone to calm down. They're like,
yeah,
oh, hell no.
Yeah.
You just like this, that's just like putting fuel on the fire. And for me, I'm like, just because that doesn't make me a perfect individual that I'm never going to have a reaction or never be like upset or never feel like, oh my God, like this is stressful, or why is this happening? Why do I feel this way? Like, I'm going to have my moments too, right? That's why I get coached. But it's this weird like expectation of like, we have to be happy and yep, we're going to stay positive. And like, it's okay to have like, to feel in that moment. And especially you, Stacia, I just want to say, and I was sharing this before, and I was thinking like, anytime something was like, because again, Hannah mentioned the summer, like there was things like, and like even springtime, I would say even more spring into summer, and I was like, oh my god, oh my god. And yeah, Stacia's just like, yeah, no, I'm good. And I was like, I love that she can own it. And she wasn't trying to make it be like, oh yeah, this is happening to me. Like, you know, when sometimes when something's going on and someone's like, well, I got to diminish what's happening to me so this
Right.
person feels better because something shitty's happening to them. Well, you owned it and you're like, yeah, no, like nothing's come up. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. And then when this happened, and like, uh, I agree totally with what you were saying, and it was like, oh no, like this is just a blip. This stuff doesn't happen to Stacia. And then it was like thing after thing, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, how is this happening to Stacia? It was like, okay, let's do this. It felt like I'm like, okay, this is a learning opportunity. Like, what is going on? And just watching like everything unfold, and how like you were responding to it. I feel, and how you are in this moment, and we're going to talk more about that, but I just felt like, um, I felt like you were like, nothing's going to knock you. I was like, oh no, she's good. Nothing can knock Stacia. And then I was like, oh my God, here it is. The big whammy came. And, yeah, so I just want to say, I definitely, I definitely thought you were like, I'm like, no, she's good. She's not like, she's just good. She's indestructible. But it was like, no, it's just like that just hadn't come up yet. It was like, it was coming,
Right.
but
Well, and it was not only the not being able to depend on people and that receiving help,
right.
money. These are like my two biggest core wounds. And it was like all of a sudden I have these huge expenses for my car. And it's like, what the hell, universe?
Yes.
Everything's working out for me. Have you seen my bank account?
I have an
Why?
idea about that. I'm going to hold on to it though. Okay. But yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I just feel that things that happen to us, I've told you the crab thing, right? That you can catch crabs, and you can put them, if you put one crab in an open bucket and just a regular bucket, the crab will jump out and leave. But if you get two crabs in there, that's all you have to do to keep them there, because every time a crab is going to try to come out, it gets pulled down. And I feel that somehow we all have this imprint that some of us are overcoming, some of us like get rid of it or whatever. But I feel that there's a collective imprint of that crab mentality, where every time, and it's internal and it's individual. Every time we start coming out and getting ahead, whether it is because we feel like, why are we having such good luck and everybody else around me suffering? That's a crab. Whether it's like, oh, well, I've had enough good luck and I've been in the flow for long enough. Now I'm going to get back down. Right? Or something to that effect of, I've had enough good times. Now I'm going to pay for so I feel that every time we experience joy, it comes at a price. Isn't that interesting?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel that that is especially true for you, Stacia, because you've had such challenging times and then it started going so well. And then it's like, I'm in my groove. I am doing so well. And for Sarah and I, for example, I felt that when we were going through these challenges, you were our anchor.
Yeah.
Right. And because we've created a space where there's no room for those crabs. Like if somebody's doing well in our group, we're excited, we're happy, we're like, yes, go. You can do this. This is amazing. We're struggling right now, but we'll be where you are soon enough. We're going to catch up because we're always raising the vibrational frequency in the group. And no matter what is happening, we come here and we're like, okay, we're going to be good. But I feel that there's something that for you, it's like, oh, I can't have it all that good because everybody else around me is suffering. And I can identify it because I'm that way. Right. And when I was little, I would cry myself to sleep saying, God, why am I so lucky? And where there are so many, and I was like 5 years old. There were so many poor kids on the street in Mexico City when I grew up. And it would break my heart to see all these children barefoot and begging for money and stuff. And it was terrible for me. And I would go to my warm bed at night and cry myself to sleep and say, God, why do I have so much and others have so little? Right. And so that's something that I have inside of me that I can recognize in you, Stacia. Like when you start doing great, then you feel like, well, everybody else around me suffering. Let me just get down to their level. And that's a freaking internal crap.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna release that today.
Well, and it's so true. And I think about like, I know that's come up before for us too in our like meditations where I almost feel like I don't even know. I think you had used the word, Hannah, where it was like we're addicted to that like same thing. Like I think about like when I go back to like the Groundhog Day feeling, it was like even in relationships, it was like the same thing over. And then I would get to this feeling like, oh my God, I'm stuck in this shitty relationship and all this stuff's happening. And why do I feel this way? And then that relationship's end. It's like, okay, this is going to be great. And then it was like this repeat thing. And I'm like, what the fuck? Here I am stuck in this shit. And stuck was a big word for me. It was like, I felt stuck. I felt trapped. I felt whatever, you know? And then even so much like with things like when we worked together in our amazing, incredible like session we all had together, and it was like working on being not being late, and it was like, why am I stuck in this cycle? And I was like, there's like this addiction to it, but it was like also not, I wasn't even aware of it, and it was like I didn't like it. But then I got to the point where I was like, well, this is just me and this is how I am. And it was just a cycle on repeat. And what the difference though that I saw with Stacia was like it felt like a slower rebound back to it than how I would have my reactions to things. Like it was like it wasn't like you were instantly like, oh, now shit hit the fan for me. It was like, months had passed, and then it was like Stacia's like, well, I guess it's my turn because like they're doing good now. I guess it's my turn. That's what it felt like. It was like, oh, I guess I'm up. Like it's front of the line. It's my turn to be like feeling this way. And it's like, no, skip your turn, skip all the turns. We're done.
No, it was like almost a delayed, but I kind of think I knew that it was coming because there were things that I wanted to do and I wasn't doing them. And it was like, then things started, falling out of alignment because I wasn't doing what I wanted to do. But then as things started falling out of alignment, then everything started getting more out of alignment. It was just like this snowball effect where it was like,
Yeah.
and then it just kept going like an avalanche. So, and now here we are.
And what I was thinking before when you were talking, I said, oh, I have a thought on that and I'll hold it. I'm going to share it now.
Okay.
And this could be, I see this maybe in this moment for you, but I know I've seen it in myself and other people. Is like when you said there's things you want to do and maybe opportunities that come up, but maybe deep down there's something that's like, oh, wait, do I want to do this? And then like, so then these things come up for us. that maybe we invited in to a certain degree. I don't know if
Well, remember, I've changed what I originally thought I was going to do. Is now completely different. But now I felt stuck. Perfect topic. I felt stuck because now I've already gotten myself into this big hole that Hannah's going to dig me out of.
I hope you brought your shovel.
I know, right? Prepare for some magic, people.
They get to see live action of this is like a behind the scenes,
right?
Well, yeah, and it's interesting because yeah, we had said, and maybe we should rethink this now that
let's not actualize this.
No,
shit.
we had said that we wanted this podcast to perhaps be more about what's happening in the moment,
right?
So that people could see how we dig ourselves out of it. But does that mean we're starting to dig holes for ourselves? I'm like, wait a second, no. I think we'll maybe rephrase it so that we can show how we get through challenges, maybe small challenges, with grace and ease and joy, as opposed to like, now we have to dig ourselves out of this hole that we dug. So I'm getting a little bit leery. I'm like, wait a second, let me rethink this. But
yeah, because we know how
since we're here now, let's figure it out, because there's so many things that we're going to untangle, right? Because now everything starts to okay, so let's say we get the nudge. I call it the nudge, right? Which is when you feel that you should do something or could do something, and that this is the time to do it, and this is the opening, that you have an opening for something, right? Like, and you feel the calling from within that says, do this X thing, whatever it is. And something in our mind, because when we're not in alignment with our mind and our heart, right, things get out of sorts. When we're aligned with our feelings, our thoughts, our words, and our actions, we're in the groove, we're in the flow. There's no contradiction. The mind isn't saying one thing and the heart another, and then we're doing another, and then we're speaking another, and it's like, and then our reality gets crazy because we're saying one thing, but we're wishing to have another, and we don't align ourselves with it because, for whatever reason, because we feel we're not worthy, because there's something inside of us, an imprint that says you can't do it. Who are you to do this? Because there's some imprint of you can't be successful, because if you succeed and then you get all these things, they're going to be taken from you. Because people say, well, I'm afraid of being successful. No. Okay. No. And that's what all these coaches say. You're afraid of being successful because you're afraid of having all these things and then freaking losing them. Because maybe in a previous life, if you believe in that, or at some point your family or somebody from the past had it all and then they lost everything, and then it was devastating.
Or so what people, anytime, they maybe in their own life that anytime they got money, they spent it. So they're like, oh shit, anytime I get money, I spend it. Imagine if I was really successful and all this money came in,
and then I'd lose it, or I wouldn't know what to do with the money. If I lost a little bit, then if I have a lot, I'm gonna lose it. But it's not being afraid of being successful. It's afraid of losing it all. Okay, and that is a very big distinction, because nobody is afraid of success, because we all desire that. It's innate in us to grow, to be bold, to do stuff, to leave our mark on this planet, right? And so many people have big dreams, and then it just doesn't get fulfilled. But sometimes it doesn't get fulfilled for fear of fulfilling it and then losing it, not for the actual fulfilling of it. Right? So there's that fear. And then there's the crab thing. It's like, I can't succeed because everybody else around me is going to feel bad.
Mhm.
And worse, they're going to drag me down. Right? So how do we take ourselves out? And it's interesting, now I'm saying this, I just saw, and maybe a lot of you who listen are familiar with Mind Valley. Are you guys familiar with Mind Valley and Vishen Lakhiani?
I think I've heard that.
I saw a video of him, I think it was just last night, probably last night. And he was talking about Dubai. And he went to Dubai, and he like literally is buying a place in Dubai and having a second home in Dubai because he's never been in a place where everybody wants you to succeed.
Mhm.
And I was like, wait a second. I was like, woo, Dubai, here I come.
Yes.
Because what an incredible environment to be, where people say, you tell them an idea and they go, oh, that's amazing. Nobody tells you, oh, that's a stupid idea. Who do you think you are? People tell you, oh, that's totally doable. What can I do to help?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Can you imagine having, well, we have it with us, but can you imagine having a society where everybody tells you, what can I do to help? Yes, you can do that, like without even questioning it. And why are the greatest minds moving to Dubai? Because they can have the support that they need to create change in the world, because we all have that calling,
Yeah.
whether it's asleep or awake.
And that
Right.
made me think of something, because you know when you're a kid and people ask you like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you tell them, nobody says, oh, that's a stupid idea, right? For the most part when they're little. But where does that change? At some point it changes. And it's like, people feel like it's okay now to tell you, is it like adolescent? I don't know. I'm trying to remember for myself. At some point, it's like, it's not okay to have a dream, and it's not okay to be like, this is what I want to be when I grow up. And it's like, no, you got to go down. You can't be successful. You have to do this, or you have to follow
Yeah, because it's a programming.
the family business or
Right.
whatever. Right. But
Yeah.
I feel like you're allowed to dream for a bit, and then it's like, it's snuffed out, and it's like,
It's school. That's what they do at school. They bring in these guidance counselors, and when you say what you want to do, they tell you how that's not practical,
yes,
and
that did happen to me
decide
too.
what options you should go for. And
Yeah.
that, so they just snuff you out in like middle school, high school. Your dreams don't get to be dreams anymore, because you've got to do something that's sustainable, and
Yeah.
they don't encourage you normally in a, like, especially in a public school setting, to follow what you desire. So
Yeah, it's true. So they need to
yeah.
adopt the Dubai mentality.
Yeah. Yeah. And also I'm because of everything that's been happening with Stacia, I saw also this video of Michael Caine. And what was the line? I keep forgetting it.
it-
Use the difficulty.
Use the
difficulty.
difficult. And he was saying how he's had this philosophy in his life called use the difficulty. And he learned it when he was in an acting class, and he was supposed to come in the door, and there was a chair that had been stuck in the door. And he was supposed to come into the scene, and he wasn't coming in. And then he finally couldn't figure it out, and he like puts his head in through the door and says to the teacher, I can't come in. And he's like, why not? Well, because there's a chair stuck in the door. And he's like, use the difficulty. If it's a comedy, fall over the chair. If it's a drama, pick up the chair and throw it, and just use the difficulty. And he's been he has that philosophy for life, that there's always a way to use that difficulty to come out a better person, or to use it for your own growth or development, or just in life, for whatever. And my philosophy has always been, there's a gift in every tragedy, right? Every challenge brings with it a gift. So we have to sometimes dig really deep to find the gift,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes the gift remains hidden through the whole situation, and we only find it as we've gone through it and realized that there was a gift in it, and it's just presenting itself after we've been through the challenge.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think it's the same thing. I just think it's more eloquently expressed by saying, use the difficulty,
Yeah.
right?
I like that.
But where do we create the bumps on the road? Because now we've missed this calling, right? And then we try to go back to it because we wanted to do it, but we didn't.
Mhm.
And then it's like trying to get out of the metro midway to catch the station that we missed.
Mm.
If we get out, it's going to be splat, right? And sometimes we miss these opportunities, but it could be also that your higher self or your soul knows that there might be something better coming after.
Yeah.
Right? And like with you were going to do certain things and then you didn't do them. And then these great ideas started coming out of that.
Yes.
But
As
then-
everything started crashing and burning, I was like,
Right.
oh, this is great. Oh, that's not great.
Right. But then instead of just finding little spots to do it, life starts to happen and it starts to smash you to pieces. And then we're trying to force things and pretzel ourselves into making it happen. And then the more we resist and the more we try to fight against it, the forces get bigger and bigger. And then people that start showing up, coming out of the woodwork to stop us from what our heart is screaming out that we want to do. But now we have all these obligations, we have all these things we have to do. And sometimes it's a daily battle. And I don't know if Stacey's feeling that way, but I have a feeling.
That was it entirely, because I was so in this groove of, this is my schedule, this is what I do, everything is just great and wonderful. And then I couldn't, like, oh, now I can't do this. Oh, I can't do this either. Like, oh, I have to go drive here. Like, all of these things started coming up, and it was hard because I felt like I wasn't in control of anything going on around me. But then that's where that monkey on my back started really kicking in, because I was creating more stories about what was happening than what was actually happening, because I was so derailed by the series of events that led me to like where I am right now. So
Right. And when we get into that mindset, we're not able to see other options.
right.
And because we're like, for example, I don't know, it's just coming to me right this, you're watching live the way I operate. But Stacia, for example, do you have like the gym thing that you're usually up there at 5 a.m, right? You've
Right.
had to miss it and you had to stop on the 29th of December, right?
Right.
I was like, she almost made it to the whole year.
Yeah.
To the whole year. And on the 29th,
3 more days left.
Right. I was stuck with no car.
right. But do you know anyone, for example, that would go to the class at that time, or were you the only one?
Well, nobody's by me. they live in another area, so it would be way out of, you know, like way out of their way to try to find someone from that class to come and pick me up. And normally they go to, you know, work after. So it's like their whole you know, I didn't even consider trying to ask, like, is there anybody that could completely mess up their schedule to get me
Right,
there?
because we don't want to
Impose
affect anyone.
right.
But what if, let me just ask this, and I may be completely off base, but what if asking would give somebody the opportunity to help another person and would be a gift to them to be able to do it for someone?
Yeah.
As opposed to, what a freaking drag, I have to now go lend my car to this person when I don't really want to lend the car, but she's my friend, my daughter, my whatever, and it's out of obligation. And have you, okay, so turning it around, I know for a fact that you love to give and help people, even if it means you going completely out of your way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, could there also be somebody else near you that's not Sarah or myself that would be happy to help someone out?
Yes.
And this is the message for this year that I'm going to share with you guys, that I got from the horses. I just went to the horse retreat over last weekend. And the message for me throughout the entire moments, from the second I got there, the horses started speaking to me. And the message is, let it go.
Mm.
That was it. Let it go. Stop trying to control everything. You're not going to. The more you control it, the more it backfires.
Yes.
If you try to control, it's gonna not work out. Things have their incredible design of how they're gonna work out. There's a big picture, and we don't see the big picture. And the message to me, especially for one particular situation in my life that I'm going through right now, and it's look at everything that's waiting to happen, that you're blocking by not surrendering. And what have I been trying to impart upon you for the past year? If it's not letting go and surrendering, casting the burden, handing the challenge over to God and say, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to happen. You take care of it. Because every time we try to take care of it, we crash the car. Literally. It's letting it go. And then things will happen. Maybe not the way we thought, maybe not the way we wanted, maybe not the way we planned, but eventually we will get there. And it becomes so much easier than fighting our way through life. Right? And for you, Stacia, what would it take for you to let it all go, allow the people to be the way they are without it affecting you personally? Because what people do and what people say, even if it's the people who love you the most, it's all about them.
Right.
It's not about you. And you might feel like, oh my God, they're giving me this thing conditionally. Everything is conditional. What in you is feeling conditional?
Well, this is a perfect topic because that's what always kept me stuck, was that expectation of, well, she said this because he said this because, and just expecting, the situations where maybe that wasn't going to be it at all. So I allowed myself to step back into that energy without seeing that I was stepping back into that energy because, well, you're probably driving my car too fast. You're probably, and it was creating stories like, well, I can't drive this car because I don't want to put a lot of miles on it. I don't want something to happen to it. So I created this stuckness, and then it became so frustrating because I was putting myself into that situation by that expectation that I thought was going to happen because that's just what that's my stuck pattern. It's like, well, this is going to happen, so I better not do this. This is going to happen, so I better not do that.
And then you punish yourself.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, listen, we're adults now. You recognize that there is a chance that something might happen to your car if I take it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Will you still lend it to me no matter what? And if they say no, then right? But they say yes, but then they'll say the snippy comments that trigger that thing in you. But what if we could avoid that from happening from the beginning? If we know that's what happens, how can we make it different this time? Yeah. How can we say, listen, I need a car. Are you willing to give it to me without making a snippy comment? Yeah. Or whenever you lend me things, sometimes you'll say stuff and I feel this way, and they'll be like, what? That's not what I meant.
It's what was I making it mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we punish ourselves. Right. And then it's like, well, now I'm not going to go to the gym.
Yeah. I'm just going to miss everything. And I can't go anywhere because now I don't know what's going to happen.
The worst part is you had a car parked right outside. Yeah. It wasn't like you didn't have your car. You didn't have your car, but you had a car parked outside that now you're punishing yourself for having.
Right.
And then you missed the last 3 days of the year going to the gym.
Well, I didn't have a car then, but.
Oh,
but.
Okay, right. But what could have happened? Who could you have asked?
Right. And I didn't even consider.
You couldn't even think.
No.
Because you go into, well, we can't think because we go into fight or flight or freeze. And now I'm adding a category of, now I'm going to pay for it because I messed up somehow the your car breaking down now all of a sudden is your fault, which I beg to differ, but it's like, now I got to pay for it. And now I got to pay for it with sacrifice, with punishing myself and suffering, and with money. Because now it's not a $700 thing, but a thousands of dollar thing. Right? So where are we punishing ourselves at some deep level for whatever? Right. Like it used to be for me that every time I started to have money, I'd get sick and I have to spend all my money on doctors. And it would piss me off so bad. Because all of a sudden I'm sick again. I'm going to go to the doctor. But guess what? I had a pattern of getting sick because when I was little, my mom worked. So what would I do? I would start feeling sick even if I wasn't. Mm-hmm. When I missed my mommy long enough, when I hadn't felt like I hadn't seen her. Why? Because whenever I got sick, guess who got to stay home? but my mommy. That was the only time that I felt really loved and cared for, because that was the time when my mom would actually hug me. It was not a physical household. And for me, hugging and kissing and being like that is awesome. And that's when my mom would stroke my hair if I had a fever, or I'd be in bed and I would get breakfast in bed, or I get brought my food to bed so I wouldn't have to get up, and my mom would spoil me. So what did that create? I only get love and attention when I'm sick. What do you think happened through my entire life? Health problems my entire freaking life. Why? Because it's an emotional thing. Because it's an addiction. Because if I'm sick, I get love and attention. When I notice that, it goes away.
Yeah.
You don't need it anymore, because now you know. And when I get sick now, I'm like, where am I not loving myself?
Yeah.
Where am I putting myself to the side? Where am I leaving myself last? And then I get back on track. And then I notice when I'm getting sick a lot, like over the summer, I got sick a lot.
Yeah.
I was feeling abandonment.
Mm.
So I start getting sick. But I realize after, right? Because now I've been sick all summer. I'm like, okay, I'm tired of getting sick. What is going on with me? Oh, I was feeling lonely. I was feeling alone. I was feeling that abandonment imprint that I have. And then it's like, okay, I'm okay with it. Now I'm going to give myself that love. The minute I did that,
Yeah.
that's what happened.
Exactly. My thing was being late, right? And that was my way of controlling. It was like, okay, I can't, everything else in my life was being controlled and like told what I can do, what I can't do, this time, that time, whatever. Lock on your door, no lock on your, like all these little elements of my life
Oh,
that
mama. I
didn't
still have
even-
those issues here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to lock my
God,
door.
please God. But for me, I realized was like, that was that was something I could control. And it didn't matter, what the hell it was for. It was like, oh, I could control it because I'm like, even if I got in shit, or even if people complained, or even if it was like work and they're like, hey, you can't be late anymore. It was still something. It was like, okay, no, this is my thing that I can do to control situation. And it's same like you, Hannah, is like being able to then look at it like, okay, wait, what's happening? What's going on? Am I feeling like I'm not in control? Am I feeling disorganized? Am I feeling like, people are making decisions for me? Like it lets me look at that and be like, okay, why is this creeping up again? Why is this happening? And is it me wanting a control issue? Like it's a control issue and me wanting to control the situation. Like it's wild to think that something like, making yourself sick or making yourself late is so deeply rooted within other things, right? And now watching Stacia like firsthand go through this in the moment, like she watched us firsthand. You guys are just getting an insider's taste to what we went through, what they did,
Right.
what I was going through.
No,
wow.
we went through it. Yeah, it was crazy. But does this like show you, Stacia, perhaps what might be happening?
Oh, definitely. Because now I've realized that the imprint that I have in all of this is that if I have to rely on someone, depend on someone, it's conditional, and that I'm only able to do things better on my own. So therefore, when I couldn't, I lost complete control and I spiraled into, oh, well, then this is going to mean this, and this is going to mean this. And I don't even know what time this is going to happen because we're not good communicators in my family. And so it just kept me going down this drain of, now that I have to depend on you, everything is just wrong.
Yeah.
And
And you're someone who's so, I don't know if diligence the right word, but you're very good at like your commitments. You follow through, right? We've talked about that before. Like you're so, if you're going to do something, you're going to do it, and you follow through, and you're whatever. So I feel like, yeah, that really hits home listening to you say that, because it's like when you didn't have the ability to be the one controlling that, and it was relying on everyone else, it was like, well, I guess it's not happening because
right.
I
Yeah.
can't control
But then it eats up at you.
Yeah.
It eats at you. I don't know how to
Yeah.
say it.
Yeah. No,
It
right.
eats at
No,
you,
that's
right?
the right word to say. It eats away at you. Yeah.
It's away at you, because then it's like, what a frustrating situation to be in, that you have to, that now you're forced to depend on someone and you don't want to depend on them. So then you're like punishing yourself for having to depend on them, and they have nothing to do with this.
Exactly.
Because it's like, if you use the car or don't use the car, if you don't care, do you know how we can solve all this? With humor.
Yeah.
We can just laugh at the people. And we can just say, really, you're going to tell me that I'm driving too fast? You're going to tell me da. Are you lending me your car for real, or are you not lending me your car? Because you know I could really damage your car. I could be
I would be like, yeah, I
your
hope I
car.
don't rack up too many speeding tickets while I have your car. Like I would make a joke like that.
Right.
Like because it's silly. It's
Yeah, because it's so silly. And or we could actually speak to the person and say, listen, I'm in a situation of need right now, and it's so hard for me to ask, and I know that you love me, but whenever I ask, I feel like it's conditional.
Mhm.
And just say it, right? I've literally had conversations over the Christmas break with my parents that have been so challenging to bring up, but I've had to just, and you know, by choice of, or by force, right? I said them because I was at my limit, and then I just was like, one day I was just like, literally, I just started to cry, like at my age. I was like crying like a baby, and I was like, I can't deal with this anymore because you want me to do this, and da 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 da. And it's interesting because, like, one of the things that I felt is, and I feel like I've never known, like I never knew when I was growing up that I could set boundaries and I could have boundaries of my own. Like everybody else had boundaries, but I was like not allowed, kind of. Like that lock on the door that Sarah says, like I couldn't lock my door, I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that, I had to do this, I had to do this. And it was very regimented, right? And I hated that. And so I would rebel in the ways that I could, and I would make everybody late, because that was like, oh yeah, well, if you're gonna control every part of me, I am going to make you late, because that's my only way to get back at you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right? And even if I'm making myself pay, it's like I'm making everybody else pay. But it wasn't about me being late. It could have been anything. That was the only thing that I could do to feel like a little bit of power, because it's all about feeling empowered, right? And so a lot of it is that when we're feeling out of control, we feel powerless. Yeah. And that is not a good place to be in.
No. And instead of asking, I chose not to ask so many things, keeping myself in the situation, making it worse, because that was my go-to. Like, well, I'm not going to ask you because you're just
it's
going
like,
to disappoint me.
Fuck you, I'm not going to ask you.
That was my control, is literally
You'd
not
sooner be
even
stuck,
bothering.
literally, than
Right.
ask. Yeah.
Right.
And
And
be
I'd
like,
rather stay home and be angry, right? And be upset. Meanwhile, the person has no idea this is all going on.
right.
But we're showing them,
Right.
but we're showing them.
Oh,
It's like, I don't
Yeah.
need you. It's like that joke, right? Of that person's like that they need a knife or something, and they're like, no, if I ask them, they're gonna say no because they're always like da 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 da. And then you do the whole conversation, and by the time you get to their house, you can keep your knife and stop it.
They
And
don't
the
even
person's
know.
like, what the heck happened
Right.
here? So we
oh
do
my
that.
god, that reminds me of the Seinfeld episode. Did you guys watch Seinfeld?
Yes, which one? I remember. Vaguely
They're
remember.
going to a dinner party, and they said, well, we have to bring a bottle of wine. And they said, okay, we'll stop and get the wine. And then George is like, why? No, why do we have to bring wine? Why do we have to bring something? Like, us going isn't enough. And then they're like, well, while we're stopping, maybe we'll get, I don't know, they were going to get some kind of bread or cake, or it was a cake.
Yes.
So they're like, okay, so
Wasn't it the babka? The babka?
Yeah,
They went, yes, the
babka.
bakery that was.
Two of them go to get the babka, two of them go to the wine. All this shit happens that derails them. So then by the time they show up at the house, they just hand a fucking bottle of wine, the cake, and they're like, here's your cake and wine. And then they left. They didn't even go in the party. And the people are just like, what the hell? Like, they put this in their mind that there was this expectation to like, oh, we have to show up with wine and cake.
And the
then-
best, the best,
the
wine.
best. And then they give it, and then they come and they give it, and the people are like, what the hell? Like, they had no, they weren't expecting that. They just wanted them to come to the party. And then because they put all this pressure on themselves,
And everything went wrong.
everything went wrong.
Yeah.
They were just like, screw you, and here's your fucking wine.
Here's your wine. Here's your
I
cake.
never asked for wine. But it's this whole thing we create in our head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just take a moment. Stop. And just feel into your heart. Is this feeling good? No, it sucks. Okay, what action can I take right now so that I can start to feel good no matter what? It may be turning your Spotify list of inspiring music that I had you make.
Do I listen to them? That's
Well, when you're in that state, you don't even have time to think about it.
no.
Because we go into fight or flight or freeze. Or now like I said, I'm adding a new category, or destroy yourself.
Yeah. I mean,
It's like we go into the limbic system of the imprint, and it's like, well, now I'll show that arm, and we're like, take a knife, and we're like, I'll show them. We're like stabbing ourselves on the other arm, right? But we're gonna show them. Ugh. Now we have our arms hanging, and we're like all destroyed. It's like, but I taught them something. I taught them a lesson, and everybody's going on like, okay, well, I don't know what's wrong with you, but hey,
I mean,
knock
looking
yourself
back,
out.
like how much of the last several weeks did I just keep myself stuck because I didn't want to ask,
Yeah.
like that's pretty huge.
Because we also hate rejection.
Yeah.
And there's always a possibility of getting a no, and we don't like that.
Yeah.
We don't like to say no, and we definitely don't like to hear that no. Like, I don't. People say no to me, I'm like, but why? It's like, what do you mean no?
Yeah.
But that kind of goes back to like what we said too, and it again, a big reason why people stay where they are is because they're afraid of getting the no. Like, I think about the acting thing, right? And it's like, if Hannah, like, so many people get no's, right, when you're acting and auditioning and things like that. But if you don't do the thing, if you don't move, if you don't ask for, okay, can I borrow the car? Can you pick me up? Can I go and try something new, go on the audition, whatever it is. if you don't do it, then it's already the no. And it's like we're trying to
You already have a
no,
no.
but it's already the no by us trying to avoid the no. And it's like, so you might as well just ask, because it could be even Andrew will, like, if for something like for days off, I remember mentioning to him too. I said, oh, I should ask to carry your days over to next year that you have left. Um, so we can use them, like, because we're moving and wedding and all the things. And he's like, oh no, like it's in the policy that like you just, or it's in the contract or something, like you get them and then that's it for the year. And I said, well, but sometimes if you ask, they'll like carry it over for you, but you just have to ask.
Exception.
And he's like, nope, they're gonna say no. I said, okay, well, one, don't just already put the outcome that it's gonna be a no. Think positive, like think positive, think positive, back to our think positive. But I'm like, just don't go right to like it's gonna be a no. Like it's an open ended. Like they could say yes just as easily. And I said, if they say no,
You already had the no to begin with.
yeah, it's already a no. So you might as well ask. If they say no again, then it's like, is it like embarrassment? Like I'm trying to wrap my brain around like why us as humans want to avoid that. And then, but I said, if they say yes, then you have these extra days. And guess what? They said yes.
Guess what happened?
Big surprise. They said yes. So it's like we get so in our head about it. It's like, you're exactly right. We're afraid they're going to say no. We're embarrassed to ask because we should know it's a no. Like, but it's not a no. It's so complex. So
Very complex.
Very
complex.
I feel like we okay, just so you guys know, if you see me with a pen, I've written down 3 more topics for podcast in our conversation, because I think we covered a lot for everybody today.
We really did.
Do you feel complete, Stacia?
I do.
Learning for everybody.
No, it was really very eye-opening, because I've been sitting in such frustration when it was just really myself keeping me stuck in that frustration, because I didn't want to ask for something conditional. I didn't want to, I'm used to being like, I'm here for me, and now I can't be here for me. So I don't want to ask anybody else to do something for me, because only I can do it.
I think so many people will relate to that listening.
Totally, exactly. I totally relate to that. It's like, you're supposed to be independent and you're supposed to, and sometimes it feels,
it's a lot.
It feels very, it's putting ourselves in a very vulnerable position. And it feels like we're weak, right? And we don't want to show weakness, but in the meantime, we're destroying ourselves. Like, what if we could stop and say, is there another way?
Yeah.
And the thing is, when we get ourselves outside of the limbic system, we're able to see other options, where if we're in fight, flight, or it's just survival mode, right? So what can we do? Breath work, meditation, bring ourselves back into our center, so we're able to see and think clearly. And really start asking questions. You don't have to know the answers. Like in school, we get trained that the best answer gets the prize. Right. But the truth is, the more questions we ask without knowing the answer, the easier the answers will come to us. We're just opening the way for other solutions to come our way. Yeah. So when we ask, I wonder what other way of solving this there is that I haven't seen before. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just putting that out there, you never know what miracles can come. But nobody teaches us that. Right? And then we're like, we get stuck in the same way of acting, because that conditional reaction you expected it to happen. And right on cue, well, I hope you're not driving my car too fast.
Right.
And then your liver is going, I knew this was gonna happen.
I knew it. I had a angel team call with Kyle Gray on Sunday, And something that he said, I think is pretty relevant now here. And he was talking about, manifestation, and when we desire things, why are you desiring the thing that you're desiring? But then he took it deeper and he said, well, why are you not feeling that feeling of what you desire right now? And how can you feel that desire now? Like, feel that feeling now. Like, so it was really taking that concept of, I'm going to plant these seeds and put them out to the universe, but then it's like we still have to follow through. And it's so easy to not follow through. Don't decide that you're going to put yourself in a situation where you're stuck because you put yourself there, and you're not asking the questions of how can I make this different? What can I do to feel, a different feeling? And how can I bring that here now and just see what happens?
But you have to be open to receiving in a way that is completely unexpected. Because God has also funny humor. It's like,
yeah.
Like some days I wonder about the universe's sense of humor. I'm like, I always say God has a channel called Hana TV. And when he or she is bored, they're like, oh, let me just turn let me see what I can do to entertain myself.
Wow. Well, I think that's a good spot to end on for today. That was well said, beautiful. And then of course funny. Hannah. I love you. Stacia, do you have a quote of the day for us?
I actually wrote down 2 quotes because I wasn't sure where we were headed. And now I feel like I need to share both of them. So
quote of the day graphic. Boom, boom, boom.
Quote of the day.
So the first one is from Albert Einstein, and you've probably heard this one. The world as we have created it is a process of our thinking. It cannot be changed without changing our thinking, which seems to be pretty big for me because I put myself right back into that old pattern of staying stuck. And then this one was the one that stood out. So we must be willing to let go of the life we planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. Joseph Campbell.
Oh,
I've heard that one and I love it. Yes.
So I think they're both pretty perfect right now.
both perfect.
Allowing ourselves to be surprised.
Okay. I was trying to control it, and I was just deflecting every single thing that could have came in to help me, and then wondering why I was so frustrated and so angry and why everything wasn't working.
And why you're so alone and nobody ever shows up to help you.
When I'm
Right.
the first one. Yeah.
You have the benefit of, and now our listeners, of working on this shit in the moment, right? Because that could have easily just been another moment where it could have just passed by. That was a shitty time that happened, and now I'm stuck. And then the next time it would happen again and again, but you're like, okay, no, like, let's like really magnify this and look at it and be like,
Right.
you don't have to do it again. You don't have to keep doing it over and over.
Right.
Yeah.
But also you don't have to keep suffering and going through it again. Because what we do is different, same boyfriend, different face, same job, different boss.
Yep.
Same situation. And the thing is that
Now.
the common denominator is,
I know that's a hard pill to swallow.
It really is. It really is. Well, we create the stories that it's everything but us.
Yeah.
And that's really what keeps us in that energy of staying stuck and not being able to see there's more options. So, yeah.
Wow.
Whew.
Woo.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, everybody, for being here, for listening. We hope you enjoyed this. We hope you pulled some little or maybe big pieces out from this that you're going to, go forward and put into your own life. And we hope we've created a ripple effect for you all, and we will see you on the next episode.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to The Ripple Effect by the Alliance with Hannah Martinez,
Stacia Stove.
And Sarah Jane Lita. We hope you're now vibing high and ready to create your own ripple.
Drop a comment or email to let us know the ripple effect that you are creating.
Music by our very own Hannah Martinez and music production by Onel Moulette.
Follow us on Instagram at The Ripple Effect Pod for more high vibration content. Please rate and review us wherever you listen.
Until next time.